President Trump proposed his very own budget for us. So I want to give you an idea of what's in it so you can digest just how ludicrous it is. These numbers here were reported in Vox, but they're from a study done by the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. Now, admittedly, that's an outlet that leans right. So if anything, you would expect them to be, I don't know, more kind to Donald Trump's view of the world and what his priorities are. But as you're about to see here, it's not really a political document of theirs. It's just a breakdown of the numbers and the brass tacks of what's happening in Donald Trump's proposed spending bill. So with that being said, let's take a look. Donald Trump is asking for a 42.3% cut to all non-defense discretionary spending. A 42.3% cut to all non-defense discretionary spending. That's nearly a 50% cut. He wants to cut nearly half of stuff in the budget that's not related to the military. Okay, listen, strike one, you're out. I can't tell you how extreme that is. There's no strike 2 and 3 in this instance. That's beyond extreme. And what's so amazing is that people often scoff at folks like me who argue, hey, maybe we should cut defense spending 50%, because even if we cut defense spending 50%, we have the biggest military in the world by a mile and a half. So there's a good reason to cut defense spending by 50%, because we're already spending way too much on the military. It's totally bloated. And even if we cut it, we'd have the biggest military in the world. So that's, a reasonable reaction to looking at the federal budget. When you look at our already frugal budget for everything else outside of defense, and to be clear, entitlement spending or earned benefit spending, so Medicare, Social Security, I mean, that's ridiculous. We don't spend nearly enough on the social safety net programs. And he's saying, well, let's do nearly a 50% cut. Let's cut nearly half of that stuff. So when Donald Trump said during the election, the forgotten man and woman will never be forgotten again, that was just a lie. Because this only affects those forgotten men and women. This affects average Joes and average Janes. Is that a thing, average Jane? If it's not, I guess we just made it up. But I think it might be a thing. So they continue here. 42.3% cut to all non-defense discretionary spending from the currently planned level of $756 billion in 2028 to $436 billion. This category includes funding for government agencies like the EPA and the State Department, certain safety net programs like Head Start, law enforcement spending at the FBI, Department of Justice, and scientific research through the National Institutes of Health and National Science Foundation. So again, crystal clear priorities. If you're talking about the National Science Foundation, the National Institute of Health, the EPA, all of these objective, empirical, scientific bodies that are absolutely necessary, in fact, they should be getting a funding increase, he says, no, let's take a hatchet to that part of the budget. Okay, next, a 33.7% cut to the EPA. This is getting into more of the specifics. A 29.5% cut to the National Science Foundation. A 22.2% cut to the Army Corps of Engineers, which is a major infrastructure program. A 21.4% cut to the Labor Department. And a 26.9% cut to the State Department, among many other discretionary spending cuts. A $777 billion boost to defense spending. So, as we already described, as you're gutting programs for regular people, you massively increase probably the number one thing in the U.S. budget that needs cutting yesterday. Take the already bloated military budget, put it on human growth hormone and steroids, and then cut everything else that the people need. I mean, it's like, honestly, this is like a cartoon. Like, the budget is, like, cartoonish. It's almost like if you had a fucking superhero movie with a villain, like, this is the way the villain would create the budget. It's that comical. It's that horrendous. It's so colossally disconnected from the needs of regular Americans. They say a 7.1% cut to Medicare, a 22.5% cut to Medicaid and Obamacare subsidies, a 27.4% cut to SNAP, which is food stamps, and a 20.1% cut to Section 8 housing by 2028. So I just need everybody to remember something. Donald Trump repeatedly said on the campaign trail, I'm not going to cut Medicare. I'm not going to cut Medicare. I'm not going to cut Social Security. And then now this is a recurring theme. He keeps proposing doing exactly that. So everybody needs to understand he's a liar. That's the takeaway from this. He's a liar. That's what that is. I'm not going to cut it. Okay, I'm going to propose cutting it. And they have ways that they try to weasel out of it. So he said, no, it's not necessarily a cut. What we're doing is reforming, or we're getting rid of the waste. And, basically the long-term goal of the Republican Party has always been to either privatize or semi-privatize programs like Medicare and Social Security. And they can't just come out and say that, because that is wildly unpopular. I mean, just massively unpopular. The American people would never stand for it. So they have to cloak their true intentions with a bunch of bullshit and rhetorical tricks and flowery salesmanship. So they'll always act like, no, what we're doing is trying to preserve these programs for the long run. And we're not cutting it, we're just reforming it. And every time you hear those words, immediately change it in your mind to cut, because that's what they're talking about. And this budget proves it yet again. 7.1% cut to Medicare. So a 22.5% cut to Medicaid and Obamacare subsidies. I mean, I don't know why the Democrats let them get away with. Trump was bragging in his State of the Union about the Obamacare individual mandate is dead. And the Republicans are like, yeah, fuck poor people, woo! But why don't the Democrats respond by saying, hey, idiot, we just got the numbers. Your actions on healthcare, not just repealing the individual mandate, but all of your executive orders, which really were destructive and took down Obamacare, you made it so 3 million people are, 3 million more people are uninsured right now. 3 million people lost coverage in Donald Trump's first year as president. And the Democrats just sit there idly while the Republicans somehow brag and try to spin all this shit into a positive. So I can't for the life of me understand what the Democratic strategy is here. I mean, I just told you it's nearly a 50% cut. Nearly half of the federal budget is cut for everything that's not related to defense, non-defense discretionary spending. So where the fuck are you? You could win an election on this issue alone. Say, this guy, he doesn't believe in the EPA. He wants your water to have arsenic in it and be dirty. He wants your food to be poisoned because he wants to cut programs like, or agencies like the FDA. He wants to gut Medicaid and Medicare and National Institutes of Health. Who the fuck, if you poll the American people, what are they going to say? Yeah, fuck the EPA, which makes sure that we don't have brazen, disgusting, insane pollution for corporate profits while everybody else gets screwed. No, the American people are going to say, we actually like the EPA. We actually like the National Institutes of Health. But that's the shit that they go to cut as they increase military spending. We're bombing 8 different countries right now. Right now. We have 900 military bases around the world. I think we could do with the little Kutskis over there in that part of the budget, don't you? Well, they say no. They say no. Partly because they're funded by the war machine, the military-industrial complex, partly because they just have a ridiculous ideology that says always spend more on the military. And, this is the fallout here. So this budget is a disgrace. It's comical. I'm not sure I've ever seen anything as stupid as it. And again, you're not going to hear, not only are you not going to hear the Democrats talk about this, you're not going to hear the media discuss this. I'm just giving you the facts here when I tell you the numbers. So where's the media to talk about this? They can't. Nope. They're too busy talking about other stuff. You know, Stormy Daniels, the porn star who allegedly had an affair with Donald Trump, which she probably did have an affair with Donald Trump. They're too busy talking about her and talking about some memo bullshit and talking about how Trump's cabinet are assholes and one of them was a domestic abuser, and so he fired that person. But mainstream media is going to focus on the soap opera angle of all this shit, and all the policy substance is going to be left on the side of the road because the mainstream media are packed full of corporatists, and they don't care or know about the policy substance. And that's why, you know, our show is colossally popular. Their popularity is tapering off and going away, even though the system is massively biased against us and the algorithms on Google and YouTube are biased against us. But it's hard for them to hold us down because we're one of very few outlets actually discussing facts that matter, information that matters, while they're sniffing their own farts and talking about how wonderful they are as they crow on endlessly about some bullshit like Stormy Daniels.